Well, I just want to quickly just move away to a few of the other fighters as well. Liam Williams, in this fight that he's been wanting for a long, long time. I know he's put himself to that position against Demetrius Andrade. Talk to me about Liam. How's he getting on? How's sort of training been for him so far?
Yeah, Liam always trains hard, always commits to the work, and since he's come to Sheffield, he's never looked back. It's a big fight for him, this one. He's got to go into America. I think it's now in Miami. We've done America lots of times. We know what the setup is. He's obviously up against it because he's fighting an American in America. They do things slightly different there, but it's a tough fight for Liam. Andrade, he's a good fighter, very clever, tricky southpaw, can frustrate people. But really, he's never really, probably for me, shone like he should have done, because he was a very good, good early on when he was at light middleweight. I used to watch him and thought he was very good. He's 30 odd now, he's world champion, and it's going to be a tough test for Liam, and we're up against it going out there. But Liam's done the training, he's put the time, he's had some great spars, all with so many different southpaws who are long and rangy, and just trying to knock the awkwardness out of him and get past those things what could probably keep Liam at distance. So he's learning to close the distance down, get the shots off what are going to be effective in southpaws, and he's doing it with probably 6 or 7 different sparring partners, so he's picking up a little bit from every one of them, and he's super fit. He'll do the 12 rounds good, and he'll be just pressuring Andrade, making him make mistakes and making him pay.
Talking about Andrade, there's been a sort of narrative that people play out that he's not maybe faced the level of opposition as a champion that people would like him to face. Well, what do you make of that?
Well, I used to get the same argument with people talking about Kell, Brook. Don't think for 1 minute the likes of Andrade don't want to fight the top guys. They do, but he is, he can be tricky, and it's like realistically, there's probably bigger fights for other opponents who are going to make more money, and it's going to be an easier night's work than fighting him. So I don't think it's not for him wanting to do it. I think really people will avoid him because he can be a nightmare. You've got to give him that. So every fighter at that level, they don't turn fights down. They fight anybody and everybody. He's not got to become world champion by strolling into that position. He's had to fight who's put in front of him. And if the big fights don't materialise, the big fighters want to fight the big fighters, and he hasn't quite made it into that group yet. So once he does, then the fights will start rolling in, and maybe this is the fight what's going to make him or break him. But can't underestimate him. I'm not for 1 minute thinking he's substandard, because he's not. He's a very, very good fighter. Very good fighter.
Just a quick update on a few of the other fighters. Kid Galahad, what's the latest with him at this present time?
Just waiting for the date. I think sometime in May. He's training well. He's never out of the gym anyway, so we're just working with MTK to finalise the date, and that should be announced very shortly.
Robbie Davies coming off a loss. What's the latest with yourself and him at this present time?
Well, people ask me that question and they think that because he got beat, he'll be doing a runner from the gym. But, Robbie's been in, we've had a chat, and, I don't really watch too many, interviews or whatever. I've got my way of doing things and what I think should be done. And, this is the way I look at it. He boxed a bit of an unknown the other week, and Josh Warrington boxed a bit of an unknown. The difference is they both got beat, but they got beat in very different ways. And as a trainer, you have to use your experience and analyse what you've got in front of you. There wasn't a lot of footage of Robbie's opponent. We had to go in quite blind. And, he got dropped early on, quite unexpectedly. And from that point, you have to realise then this kid, they've got something about him. He got through the 12 rounds. It was a close fight. There's only a couple of points in it. And, Robbie will learn from that fight. I think they've got him out again, Matchroom, and he'll be training with me, I hope. I don't think we've fallen out about it. So we'll just see how it goes. If he rolls back in the gym and gets back into a camp, that's what we do. If he decides to do something else, it's down to him.
Can I ask you, Dom, because someone else actually asked me, we were talking about it, I was with one of the fighters maybe a week after that event, and he even said to me, I'd like to know what Dominic Ingle was thinking during the fight, because there were certain times in the fight that Robbie was saying, can I switch back? I just want to ask you yourself.
I'm a trainer. Yeah. I've been around. I'm 54 years old. I've been around for years. I'm not in the habit of getting a fighter to turn around and telling me how they want to fight. Robbie Davies, this is what people don't understand. It's not like you're asking a fighter who's an orthodox fighter to switch and do something he can't do. Robbie Davies can box from both stances. He can box from orthodox and he can box from southpaw. So I watch him every day training and sparring what he can and he can't do. And if I say to him I want him to go southpaw and box that way, that's the way. You know, when people start talking about the best way to hit a southpaw is straight down the pipe with a backhand, it's a load of rubbish. It's the furthest distance. It's the furthest distance. It's like fencing. So yeah, it's easy if the fighter stood in front of you, but the idea of when you're standing southpaw is to spin out outside of the jab and away from the backhand. That's what you've got to do, not walk onto it. So if you're taking half a step to the left of the southpaw, you're going to walk onto the shot. You're only going to take half a step to the left out of range. So you've got to have that and be able to avoid the backhand and work off the jab and work off the backhand. And if you know what you're doing in southpaw, you do that. Now, a lot of them shots with Robbie Davies, a lot was skimming him. He actually came out without a mark on him. He had a little graze over his eye. His nose was bleeding a little bit. The other guy looked like he'd been in a car crash. So you would have thought, you know, all these big shots what were supposed to land in on him, he'd have been marked up, he weren't marked up. You know what I mean? So he came out without a mark on him. Luckily, he didn't get the knockdown. You know, the knockdown changed the fight. But realistically, he just got caught, been out for 12 months, just probably not, you know, fresh enough or whatever, got caught, and, you know, had to fight his way back in. It was a bit of an uphill struggle from him then. But, you know, I've been around boxing a long time. I know about fighters. I've been in so many world title fights, but I don't have to sit here and tell people what my credentials are. I'm not here to answer to armchair critics or fans. You know what I mean? It's like, it's the job I do, and you're not always successful, but as long as you're more than 50 or 60 or 70% successful, then you're doing all right. And, you know, you'll have wins and losses. You'll not always be training kids, you know, and getting 100% win records. You don't work like that. You get wins and you get losses, and that's all part of the learning. So, you know, I'm not gonna. Let's just say he came back to the corner and said, "I want to go back orthodox." I went, "Yeah, go on then." And he went back orthodox and got knocked out. What would people be saying? Robbie Davies doesn't get dropped in fights early on. So if something's changing in the fight, how many times have you ever seen Josh Rowan to be knocked down in four rounds? How many times have you ever seen him knocked down in a fight? Never. Right. So if Josh Warrington's getting knocked down in 4 rounds, there's got to be an adjustment made, because it never happens. So he's either really off it, or that kid's really on it, or he's not as bad as people think. And then he got knocked out in 9 rounds. Robbie Davies got dropped in 4 rounds and made an adjustment, and he got through the fight and he lost by a point. Do you understand? So that's what you have to realise. It's better to walk out of that ring on both feet than being carried out on a stretcher, because the psychological damage it does to you, you never get back. You never get back normal again. You can always go back to fight another day, can't you?
I'm not questioning your credentials at all, to be honest. Dom, just want a quick 2 questions. First of all, have you and Kell Brook talked? What's the latest with him, if you have spoken?
Kell came in the other day, came down to the gym the other day, we had a chat. You know, he's just finding his feet. Who knows, but he thinks he might have another fight in September. But I said to him, look, you know, get yourself moving, at least be doing something, do some training. He's had a bit of time out. So, yeah, you know, we'll see. I think you'll get an announcement from Kell before you get one from me. But I think he says he's got another fight left in him. So we'll see.
This final one, I just want to talk about Billy Joe Saunders. Canelo, I know Billy Joe was training with yourself. He's now moved on to Mark Tibbs. Talk to me about that fight. How do you see that fight playing out?
You know, it's a tremendous fight. And, you know, I've always said from day one, you know, Canelo has improved massively as a fighter, but you go back to the times when he boxed Ryan Rhodes and Matthew Hatton, look back at that fight now and think what a great fight he gave him. And if there's a fighter out there who's got the capability of beating Canelo, it's Billy Joe Saunders. The only thing is that Canelo's been very consistent over the last 2 years, where Billy's been a bit sporadic. And, you know, he had 2 good fights with me, Monroe and Lemieux, and I said to him from that point, listen, I said, if you're going to fight the big names, from this point you've got to build on this. You've got to be consistent. You've got to keep on your weight. You've got to, you know, live, breathe, and it's, you know, sleep, eat and breathe boxing. And he's had injuries, he's had pull-outs, he's been inactive. It's hard when you've had that kind of stop-start couple of years, really, to probably bring your best out. But the thing is with Billy gets up for the big fights. When the pressure's on him and his back's really up against the wall, that's when he pulls it out of the bag. So it'll be interesting to see how this fight goes. I think it's going to be a close fight. If the best version of Billy Joe Saunders turns up, which I think he will do, I think he'll give Canelo a hard night. whether he gets the decision over in America with the momentum that Canelo's got, and we've seen as with Golovkin when he went out there, people thought he got gifted fights, or he should never beat Golovkin or whatever. You're up against that as well. So Billy's really up against it, but it's not beyond his capability to beat Canelo. It isn't at all. He's got the moves, he's got the boxing brain, and he's got the style to beat him.
Cool. Dom, it's always a pleasure catching up with yourself. I know it's been a long time since I've spoken to you. It's been way over a year, I think it's been. But yeah, good luck to yourself. Good luck to Willie on Saturday night. Hopefully, your guy brings back the titles and then you push forward and push on in 2021.
2021.
Dominic Ingle, thank you very much for talking to Seconds Out.